Well, hey everybody, Mr. Reeves with you, and we are doing some preparation for our quiz on percents and solving problems with percents. So what I have right here is the Module 8 review. This is from page 229 in the Math 6 textbook, if you were wondering. All right, so up here at the top, they have some examples. Just a reminder that these right here on this number line, these are called benchmark percents. All right, so we have fractions and we have percents to go with them. This diagram can be found in your textbook also. I've referred to it in several videos. There was one more that I like to add on here. Between 1/10 and 1/4, right here we have 1/5. And 1/5, if you go straight down, I'm going to try to model what they do here. All right, forgive me, it's not going to be as neat as theirs. 1/5 is actually 20%. All right, so I think 1/5 is one that you should have. I'm going to come down here so it's a little neater, okay? 20%. 1/5 is one you should have memorized as well. All right, so we all should know that 1/10 is 10%, 1/5 is 20%, 1/4 is 25%, 1/3 is 33 and 1/3%, and 1/2 is 50%. Of course, 2/3 is simply 2 of the 1/3, so it's 66 and 2/3%. 3/4 is simply 3 of the 1/4, so it's 25 times 3, so it's 75%. Once you know any of these, if you have a different number on the top, you simply multiply by that number. So 7/10, they've said, see, 7/10 is 7 times 1/10, all right, but 1/10 was 10%, right? So it's 7 times 10%, so it is 70%. All right, we also talked about how you can have this right here where we have a number line as well, 1/5, and this would be 2/5, then this would be 3/5, this would be 4/5, and then of course this right here would be 5/5, right? 5/5 makes one whole. And if 1/5 is 20%, like we said, 2/5 would be 40%, 3/5 would be 60%, 4/5 would be 80%, and of course 5/5 is 100%. Okay? All right, and then down here in example number 2, all right, it says 13 of the 50 states do not touch the ocean. Write it as a decimal and as a percent. All right, so the method they used was getting the denominator to be 100 because percent is always out of 100, right? So 50 times 2 would give us 100. So 13 times 2 would give us 26, which is 26%. So 13 out of 50 is the same as 26 over 100. Anything over 100 is a percent, so that would be 26%. There is another way you can do this that we've talked about. You can change any fraction into a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator. And if you have a calculator available, as we do, it's quite simple, and you are welcome to use a calculator. 13 divided by 50 is 0.26. You can see it right there, okay? So you can make the denominator 100, or actually any power of 10 would work when you want to work with percentages, or you can simply divide the numerator by the denominator, or if you've got them memorized, you can work with your memorized benchmark fractions and percents. All right, so let's do these problems right here, and then we'll be done with this first video. All right, write each fraction as a decimal and as a percent. Well, 3/4 is one of those ones that you should be referring back to what you have memorized. 1/4 is 0.25, so 3/4 is going to be 0.25 times 3, which is going to be 0.75, which is 75%. All right. Now, again, if you did not know that, you could go to your calculator and you could do 3 divided by 4 is equal to 0.75. And then to change the decimal to the percent, you move it 2 places to the right. All right. 7/20, this is actually one we talked about again. All right. Actually, no, we talked about fifths, didn't we? Fifths and 20ths are related because 5 times 20 is 100. So 1/20th is 5% and 5% is 1/20th. All right, but 7 20ths, if you didn't know that, probably the easiest thing to do is just take 7 divided by 20. Go ahead and put that into your calculator, and we see that it is 0.35. Move the decimal 2 places to the right, and you get 35%. All right. 8/5. All right, I hope you notice real quickly that the number on the top is bigger than the number on the bottom. So this is going to be greater than 100%. All right, we have several ways we can do this. Again, 1/5 we said was 20%, right? So 8/5 is going to be 20% times 8, right? And 20 times 8 is going to be 160. So that's going to be 160%, which to change to a decimal, you move 2 places to the left, you get 1.6. Again, if we go to our calculator, the method that will always work is dividing the numerator by the denominator. 8 divided by 6, there we get 1.6, which is 160%. All right. Complete each statement. 25% of 200 is. All right, I would like to refer you back to something we talked about. All right, and this was that the part over the whole is equal to the percent over 100. The part over the whole is equal to the percent over the 100. And many, many times that part is indicated by is, and the of is indicated by the whole. All right, so when we see 25% of 200 is, we can say 25 over 100. See how that of 200, that would go on the bottom. All right, and then this is that we don't know. I'm going to put a question mark there. All right, well, you'll notice, what do I have to do to get from there to there? I have to multiply by 2, right? So I have to multiply that one by 2. So the answer is 50. 25 over 100 is equal to 50 over 200, right? This one's just double of that one. So 25% of 200 is 50. 25% of 100 is 25, right? So 25% of 200 is 50. All right, there's another way we can do that. One of the great things about math is there's so many different ways to do things. And we did this more recently on the problems we're doing. If we want a percent of a number, we can change that percent to a decimal, and we can simply multiply. So a second way would be to get our calculator and go 0.25. 25% of, when we see that word of, we know to multiply, times 200. And when we do that, we get the answer of 50. All right. The reason we don't go to that way directly often is because it doesn't work on all the problems. For example, this one, you can't just multiply 16 times 20, or this one, you can't multiply 21 by 70. But this method right here, this method always works, writing a proportional by solving by proportional reasoning. Okay, so here we go. 16 is blank percent of 20. That's what we're trying to find. All right, what we're trying to find is 16 is what percent of 20. So this time, this is what we don't know. We don't know the percent. 16 is, so I'm going to put 16 on the top. I'm going to put 20 on the bottom. So 16 over 20 is what over 100. All right. So again, we could say, well, 20 goes into 100 5 times, right? So I have to do times 5 here. We're using proportional reasoning that if the denominator is 5 times as big, the numerator must also be 5 times as big. So 16 times 5 is 80. All right, so the answer we're looking for is 16 is 80% of 20, because again, 16 over 20 is equal to 80 over 100. When you have percent problems, that denominator is always 100. All right, 21 is 70% of what? So here we go again. All right, the 70%, I'm going to put the 70 over 100. 21 is, so if I go over here, okay, I'm going to put that 21 on the top because that's the part, and the what we don't know is the whole. We don't know the whole. All right, so then the question is, does 21 go into 70 evenly? And the answer is no, right? But what if I simplified 70 over 100 to 7 over 10, and then I tried it, right? Because 70 over 100, I can divide them both by 10. So I get 21 over something is equal to 7 over 10. Well, now I hope you can see right here that 7 times 3 is 21. So then I need to do 10 times 3, and that's going to give me 30, right? So what proportion do I end up with? 21 over 30 is the same as 70 over 100. Both of them are going to simplify to 7 over 10. And in fact, if you wanted to confirm it on your handy dandy calculator that I accidentally closed, if we do 21 divided by 30, we should get the same answer as if we do 70 divided by 100. So let me do 21 divided by 30. That's how you change a decimal, a fraction into a decimal. You see I get 0.7. And of course, 70 divided by 100 is going to give me that same result, 0.7 or 0.70. So 21 is 70% of 30. So to do these problems right here, where you're finding percents of numbers or finding a missing part of that relationship, this is what you want right here. All right, you want the part over the whole equals the percent over the 100. You're always going to know 3 of the 4 of them. And this right here is just a little extra way to help us. When we see that word is, we know that refers to the part, and the of refers to the whole, right? Of is of, that helps us know where to fill things in. And percent always goes over 100, okay? All right, let's do these last 2 problems, and then we're going to be done with this video. All right, here we go. It says 42 of the 150 employees at Carlos Car Repair wear contact lenses. What percent wear contact lenses? So again, 42 of 150. So this is our part, right? That's the part that wears glasses. This is the whole, and we want to know what percent that is over 100, because percent always goes over 100. Well, again, 100 doesn't go into 150 evenly. Now we could say, well, it's times 1.5, right? But let's try simplifying. What do we know that goes into both of those? 2 goes into both of those, right? So I can divide both of those by 2, and then I get 21 over 75. But then I go, oh my goodness, I can divide that again. I could divide that by 3, and then I get 7 over 25. So what we have here are equivalent ratios. Equivalent ratios. 42 over 150 is equivalent to 21 over 75, which is equivalent to 7 over 25. Now, why do I like 7 over 25 so much? Because now that goes evenly into 100, doesn't it? 25 goes into 100 4 times, all right? Times 4, and what do we get? We get 28%. All right, so 42 over 150 is equivalent to 28 over 100. And again, if we were to check it, did I do it again? I keep closing the calculator instead of minimizing the calculator. Come on, Mr. Reeves. Be careful. All right, here we go. So if I do 42 divided by 150, what do I get? I get 0.28. Right there, I know that it is 28%. So I could have gone directly that way. If you want to know the percent, you can divide the numerator by the denominator. We get the decimal, right? When I divided, I got 0.28. And that's another way I could have known that it was 28%. All right, I'll just exit all out. It's faster than erasing. Last question. Last week at Best Bargain, 75% of the computers sold were laptops. If 340 computers were sold, if 340 computers were sold there last week, how many laptops were sold? So what we have is laptops over total computers. All right, total computers. That's what we're working with. All right, laptops over total computers. That's our part over our whole. All right, so 75% were laptops. So 75 out of 100 were laptops. It says 340 computers were sold. Well, that's the total, right? That's the whole. That goes there, right? 340 goes there. And then the question is, what would go on the top, right? What would be there? Now again, 75 over 100, I hope you know that that's going to simplify to 3/4, right? So I know 3 out of 4 of those computers, 3 out of 4 of those computers were laptops. So now the question is, how many times does 4 go into 340? So if I take my calculator and I divide 340 by 4, it tells me that 85 times, that's 85 times bigger, so that has to be 85 times bigger. So if I now do 3 times 85, what do I get? I get 255. So 255 laptops were sold. So just real quick, 75% were laptops. So that means that 3 out of 4 were laptops. They told us that there were 340. We figured out that 255 out of 340 is the same as 3 out of 4, which of course is the same as 75 out of 100. And if you don't believe me, take your handy dandy calculator and we could do 255 divided by 340 and we can see that we get 0.75. The same thing that we get when we do 3 divided by 4, and of course the very same thing we get when we do 75 divided by 100. All right, so percents are all about equivalent ratios and proportions. We just want to know what it would be if it were out of 100, right, given when it's not out of 100. All right, so that's a quick review of some problems from Module 8. I will be actually going and making another video using the Module 8 quiz from the textbook, but I hope this one helped you. All right, have a great day. Bye.